How's it going, everybody? I just said I'm gonna draw just kind of a commentary video today, just kind of talking about something I came across on YouTube. So there's another Xbox 360 YouTuber named Cobatine, and he recently dropped a video about the potential shutdown of Xbox Live for the 360 in 2025. This video, he essentially just kind of outlines different fact pieces that potentially could be pointing towards the end of the Xbox Live service for the console. The video kind of starts off with him explaining how there's connectivity issues on the 360, such as things like not being able to sign into your profile, not being able to connect to games, and these issues lasted for weeks back in 2024 before I decided to come back. And it's not only him or his friends that suffered from this. There's a considerable amount of people on Reddit that also appeared to have these issues with the same error code and everything. And this issue even permeated to doing open lobbies in like Black Ops 2 or Uno, where joining sessions wouldn't work, and like in Black Ops he would have to switch hosts to get everyone to join. Also in Uno, he wasn't even able to get like a host switch to work, even if he went to Quick Match and searched, despite his friends and him being the only people on the game at the time. He was still unable to get into the match. Some of the issues in the video that he touches on are actually things that I experienced as well, such as digital content downloads failing and like messages not sending or not even appearing. The video also touches on Microsoft shutting down the marketplace. He touches on Microsoft shutting down the marketplace as also an indicator of dwindling support for the console. He mainly touches on the idea that the marketplace is like the main way that Microsoft would have been making money from the console, just because that's where they do all their digital sales and so on. And now after it's shut down, there's really no way for Microsoft to make money off the 360 besides Xbox Live subscriptions. And like there is still ways to obtain DLC and some content for the 360 by buying it on the website and then getting on the console, or using a stealth server to re-enable the store and actually making the purchase. But that still doesn't enable you to download things as easily as you used to be able to, because there are chances that you'll just hit download and it just doesn't do it. After that, he gets into kind of like the meat and potatoes of the video, where Microsoft support agents have been alleging that the 360 will receive its final update within 2025. And not all support agents appear to have access to this information, or might not even be willing to give it out. It was originally surfaced on Reddit with somebody noting that when asking for help with the sign-in problems on their account, Microsoft support agent said this may be in relation to the final update for the 360 coming in 2025. Not every agent appears to want to give out this information or to even be able to access this information. Part of it, I feel like some agents may just not be able to access that information in general, just because the way the information security hierarchy works in companies, support agents generally don't have the best access to resources within a company to know like the exact details. We don't exactly know what this update means, but if it's the last update, you can kind of infer it might not be that good. Hearing out Cobatine with all these points paints a grim picture for the Xbox 360. I missed out last year in 2024 when the start of the authentication and download issues really came to fruition for the people who were on the console, since I only really started to revisit in 2025. At first, these connectivity issues looked to me as some sort of glitch with possibly like a stealth server, but I don't see any indication that Cobatine uses an RGH for it to be a stealth server issue. And also these connectivity issues appear to be widespread, as even the Xbox 360 subreddit has noted these issues. And the 360 subreddit most likely has a majority of retail console users, so I'll completely forego believing that it's some issue with a stealth server or anything. And these connectivity issues lasting for as long as they did appears to me as if Microsoft really does have some sort of lack of concern for the 360 community, as the 360 community has dwindled in player numbers significantly over the past decade. The first notable problem in Cobatine's video is the errors people receive when trying to log into their accounts on the platform. This error also has a lot of discussion online, which lends credibility to it being a widespread server error, and not just a one-off thing that Cobatine has encountered. Many people have claimed that there are multiple fixes, such as removing friends to get under the 100 friend limit, 360 had, and also disabling recurring billing. But overall, the best fix for this error has actually seemed just been to keep trying until you get into the account. People believe that there are home remedies to get your account to log in, but things such as recurring billing and larger friends lists have already existed for a very long time on Xbox and have not previously impacted the service on the 360. So I don't believe these functions would be the culprit for the authentication issues, especially considering the error is popping up kind of before the account was fully downloaded to the console. And I feel that if something like the friends list being over 100 players was a problem, we would have expected to see this error come within the past decade whenever you were able to get over 100 friends on the Xbox One and then go back to the 360. I feel like we would have seen this before. Some of the connectivity issues touched on by cobatine in his video have actually been present in my videos I've uploaded as well, such as messages failing to send and downloads from the store not starting or failing to download entirely. At first, I kind of do still chalk up my issues to the fact that I play on a modified console, so everything I do gets funneled through a stealth server. I have noticed in more recent times messages even coming late, like I won't see that I have messages on my account until I receive game invites from people in my recent players. Some of these issues, such as the issues with connecting to people on Call of Duty, have kind of existed since those games were out, but the prevalence of them coming back in a more full swing type of way kind of makes me believe that these newer iterations of the errors may actually be involved with something going on behind the scenes with Microsoft. One of the hypotheses that Cobatine's pushes is that Microsoft is going to have a push for users to have their own servers for backwards compatible 360 games on the Xbox One and Series consoles, which could potentially be the case whenever a full shutdown of Xbox Live occurs. However, I believe if Xbox Live has a full shutdown, then the backwards compatible games may not even have servers to begin with, as the main multiplayer games people run on 360, such as Call of Duty, have never really broken a 4-digit player count within recent times, I feel, let alone the lesser played COD titles, which don't even seem to break 100 or even 200 on a good day. One of his theories points is the re-release of COD games onto the Windows Store having their own service specific to the Windows Store. I personally see the Windows Store having its own servers as a symptom as to how these titles worked on PC. These games are old enough that they don't have cross-platform since they were only available on Steam. The Steam versions of the games depend on Valve's infrastructure, such as the DRM and anti-cheat to function. So to me, it kind of makes sense that these re-releases would be hosted on Microsoft's own servers just to break away from Steam, since the games are not made to work between platforms, such as the way modern CODs you can have a Steam player playing with a Battle.net player or some way playing with a Game Pass player. This doesn't entirely mean Microsoft couldn't pull something off of backwards compatibility, but I do not believe it would be feasible to use these PC Xbox servers for anything except a re-hosting the game on PC. Part of me believes that some people may take this as a way for Microsoft to run an Xbox over the game where Game Pass PC players and backwards compatible players could play together. But these games are very old and simply not built to handle the type of networking that would be used for that. I highly doubt Microsoft would go out of their way to rewrite entire systems within these games from either decades to 20 years old just to make a handful of dollars whenever these games already have low player counts as is. They very realistically could potentially set up an Xbox Live emulator in the backwards compatibility emulator for console players. I honestly at the moment do not see that as something they would consider valuable. Now, onto the meat and potatoes that his video builds up to. The Xbox support gamer agents appear to leak an upcoming update for the 360. Redditor Pryor has posted a screenshot from a support agent log, showing an agent alleging that an update will be coming to the 360 at the end of the 2025 year in response to players asking about the aforementioned sign-in errors. The agent says that the errors could potentially be linked to the update coming later this year, but doesn't entirely touch on why they're theorizing that's the issue. Cobatine in his video then goes and sprays Xbox support for an agent that's more willing to give up information on this update, sometimes even utilizing the fact that he knows about the update as leverage to try to get them to spill more information. The last agent in the video tends to give more information. So, according to the last agent he spoke to in the video, the agent said that an update is coming in about December of 2025 that may impact the Xbox Live service on the 360, but the agent still pushes Cobatine to listen to the official news sources from Microsoft to get more information on this update. This agent telling us that this update may impact Xbox Live gives us more information than we had prior about this update that's coming. This This is the point in the video where pretty much all of us realize the gravity of the situation, but we could still take this a bit lighter than face value. While I honestly do believe the next Xbox update will probably patch out Xbox Live services, we have to keep a level head and remember that while support agents do work in the company, they're usually nothing more than support agents. While these agents he spoke to all corroborate that an update is coming, so we can say with at least 89% certainty that the 360 will receive its last update this year, these agents may not entirely know the scope of what this update entails. Companies like Microsoft usually handle information security very seriously and would not entirely be open to letting this information leak, such as what we have about the update, but this doesn't entirely mean that the agents are bullshitting us due to the fact that a handful of them do seem to have some sort of information that is the same thing. I honestly do believe that this next update to the 360 may patch out Xbox Live services, not only because of what the final agent in the video says, but also just off the basis of the console being old. The Xbox Live services on the 360 are almost 20 years old as they launched in 2005. That's a pretty long time for a console to have continued online support despite the massive dwindling numbers. I know this is just my feeling based off of vibes, but we have to be realistic that a business's sole reason for existing is to make money, and they would just be more apt to pull the plug on a service of this age. Xbox Live for the 360 has most likely been more of a hassle than it has been worth for Microsoft to fully keep up with the infrastructure and software ages, to them probably just seeing it as invalid to continue supporting a system that most likely only has 4-digit player numbers. The 360 is still a large console in third world countries such as Pakistan, India, and Brazil, where the average gamer makes significantly less money than us. These players padding out the remainder of the service is still most likely not enough for Microsoft to feel as if it's valid to keep these services running. These players do not directly benefit Microsoft in any way, as they do not buy first-party games, nor do they seem to tend to subscribe to the Xbox Live service due to prices of the service and networking generally being higher in their areas. I do not mean for this to sound like a jab for those born into less fortunate situations, however, as the Xbox 360 does not have first-party games that directly pay the developers or Microsoft to begin with. Most of these games are bought secondhand, and the only way that Microsoft would make money off 360 games are through backwards compatibility sales. Microsoft most likely sees this console as something that does not deserve an extended life cycle of support due to the money drying up from the player base, as the waste for money to be paid to Microsoft dwindles for these systems. Of course, Microsoft could have just left up the marketplace and pushed 360 players to get digital copies of their games due to things like DVD rot. Well, most people who are playing 360 are from the disc era of gaming, where generally we have our games in hard copies. The marketplace shutdown was also probably a case of the marketplace costing Microsoft more to run than it was actually making in revenue, considering the fact that any game secondhand would be significantly cheaper than just paying for the digital download. The end of the 360 appears to be near with the ongoing server issues regarding Xbox Live, push to play backwards compatible titles on newer consoles instead, and support agents appearing to have some sort of information on an update coming to the console in 2025. The future of the 360 looks bleak, but I believe that we are finding out at least a decent time due to the leaks, which could potentially let us get at least a year out of our childhood before the inevitable shutdown of the Xbox Live services. We have to remember that the console won't be gone, however, since we could still run up single player and even use modified systems to play Skylink, but it won't feel the same as using official servers. We do have to remember that most of us that grew up on this system are in our mid-20s to 30s at this point, and the other generations have had their online services plucked away much earlier than we are getting with the 360. The main takeaway of this is that all this information is still unconfirmed. While it is coming from a Microsoft support agent, which kind of gives it a lot more significance than just somebody saying it, we still have to listen to official avenues from Microsoft to get the real scoop on what will happen. That's just the truth about it. We don't exactly know when this is going to happen or when the announcement of the shutdown is going to be, but I believe we are near, and you just gotta get back, play what you want before it's gone. But with that's pretty much all my ideas. This is kind of like a new type of format for me, just kind of talking about something else. If anybody has any input that they want to drop in the comments, you could go ahead. We could just kind of use this as like a discussion type video. Check out Cobatine's video in the description. It has a lot more information than what I said. I just kind of glazed over it. But with that, I'm peacing out. Bye.